Yeah, we'll go on. Italian Lad 69 says, "Hi, Pastor Mike. What does fathers do not exasperate your children in Colossians 3:21 mean? Is this meant to be a general guidance to raising children or disciplining them?" Let's look at the passage itself. Here we go. Colossians 3:21 says, "Fathers, do not provoke your children, lest they become discouraged." New King James, I'm going to read a few different translations so you guys can see. Here's this, again, "Do not provoke your children, lest they become discouraged." NIV says, "Do not embitter your children." Interesting. King James says, "Fatheriths, thou shaltest not." No, wait, no, that's not right. It just says, "Fathers, provoke not your children to anger, lest they be discouraged." And of course, to anger is in italics because that's the translator's way of saying, hey, we added this phrase for clarity. It doesn't say to anger in the Greek, but we think it's implied. So you can understand what they're being provoked to. And so why does it say it? What does it mean? And is it a general guidance to raising children or disciplining them? I think the answer to the second question is yes. It is general guidance. Consider this, that, and this is my own view, is that when in Scripture we have 1, 2, 3 statements about a category of people and how they are to conduct themselves, I think those statements must be really important. They probably are very broadly applicable, because why, like in this case, one statement, fathers, here's one thing I want to tell you about raising your kids. Don't provoke them, right? Do not embitter them, lest they become discouraged. Isn't that interesting? That lest they become discouraged is in every, at least those 4 translations that I quickly surveyed. It's the same in all 4 of them. There's a balance between raising kids with proper discipline versus beating them down. And I don't mean physically beating them down. That is, there's no balance with physically beating people down. I mean, like their courage, their thought of like, I can do this, I can move forward in life, I can accomplish things, I'm not being so provoked. Fathers tend to be the disciplinarians in families, tend to be the ones who are sort of like the final head in the family, at least according to Scripture. And there's a danger in that. I think this is the case for people who are in leadership in general, is there's a danger that they'll misuse their leadership to cause harm to others, hurt them. Jesus warned his disciples against this because he told them, like, don't be like the Gentiles. They like lord it over you. No, you want to be great, be a servant. Which doesn't mean you lose your authority. It means you use your authority to serve and help others. And so we're to train our kids up in the ways of the Lord. And the danger is that the father himself not just gets irritated, but that he creates bitterness in his children because of the way he's dealing with them. Now, that bitterness could be because of neglect. Father who never disciplines doesn't seem to care, right? There's some fathers who are they've so checked out that their children look back. And I think this could apply to mothers too, but it specifically says fathers, maybe for a reason, because the fathers maybe more often tend to fail in these areas. That'd be my guess. So the father could just check out. And this, I dealt with some of this when I was growing up. My dad just wasn't around. And this created issues for me. It really did. And I can understand how this provokes them or embitters your children, makes them discouraged. Yeah. But then there could be the overbearing dad who's just he's holding them down under such restraints that they're not really growing and developing into a responsible adult. They're just being controlled. And that's not really going to work either. So I think that I'm trying to give up a couple examples, but the blanket statement here is, look, don't embitter. That's a good way to put it too, is don't embitter. Don't do things to your kids that just provokes them. Now, your kids might just decide to rebel, and maybe that's their fault. But you can also look at yourself and make sure that you don't do things where you go, man, I sure fed into that, didn't I? Like, that was really something I did wrong. And it's a scary thing, man. Fatherhood is a scary thing. But that's why Scripture gives us counsel on how to do it. Don't check out. but watch your kids and make sure you're not going overboard, lest they become discouraged. So I think that's a good general rule for fathers from Scripture.